the story today that caught my eye, just because of how silly it was the story that we've got on Record Sport Online of Barry Ferguson being binned off by Paul Le Guen at Rangers because he was eating beans and toast. And apparently Le Guen picked up his beans and toast, scraped the beans into the bin and told him, we don't eat beans here anymore. I mean, we've had a few comments on that. Most of them just...
Can I just break in here? If Paul Le Guen wants to come down to my kitchen just now, the girls have just had their dinner. They can clean up my dinner table if you want.
Very good point. That's probably what he does these days. Robert Stewart says it could be worse. Could have been jelly and ice cream. And Gordon Macklin says they're just a couple of has-beens anyway, which I couldn't resist putting in. But did you guys ever have many dealings with Paul Le Guen?
Yeah.
Was he as strange a character as he came across to fans?
He was a strange character. And, I've spoken to Barry Ferguson, obviously Daily Record columnist. I've spoken on many occasions to him about that period of time, which was obviously a very fraught period of time, if short-lived. Le Guen was an odd character. And I think one of the things that everybody found a bit odd about him at the time was when he moved to Glasgow. He was here for a period of months, but by the time he was ready to leave, he actually didn't have to pack up his belongings. They were already still in the cardboard boxes that they had arrived in. He never went to the trouble of unpacking in the first place, which suggests that probably he got the idea that he might not be long for this country. I don't know. You would need to be inside the dressing room. I've heard this story. I've heard about the beans. I've heard about tomato ketchup. I've heard about Chris Boyd and Monster Munch, all sorts of stuff. And I'm sure that there was kind of sports science behind a lot of it. But I just feel that Paul Le Guen had quite an unfortunate way of speaking to people. Maybe he felt there was a problem with the leadership group at Rangers. Maybe he wanted to sort of bust that up a little bit. I found it strange when he came in. He used to talk because I think he gave the captaincy to Gavin Ray shortly after that incident, and then proceeded to sit in a press conference. And we were, this is obviously a significant story. He was looking at it as if we were half-daft. This isn't a significant story. One, you're a football manager. Don't tell a journalist what a significant story is. Two, you're just plainly wrong. Of course, if there's an issue between yourself and the guy who is an established winning captain at the football club, it's a story. And it did become a story, and it did become an issue, and it, things obviously get more and more fraught between the pair of them. And it exploded, I think, after I think it was a defeat up at Inverness. When if going by Barry's kind of recollection on it, which I'm happy to do so, given as he was more than just an eyewitness, he was a participant. He felt that he'd been maybe bottling things up, that he hadn't been allowed to have his say, that the manager was actively disencouraging people to have their say. It was his way or no way, and this thing festered, and the results were poor, and the Rangers were sliding down the league table. Barry Ferguson found it unacceptable. And in the heat of his frustration, after dropping another 3 points on the road up in the Highlands, I think he just said, I think the famous line is that Le Guen came into the dressing room and said, look, don't worry, guys, everyone's going to be fine. We just need to stick together, obviously with a French accent. And I think that was once too many. I think Barry Ferguson had heard that line once too many times. And you are talking about a guy that needed to go recently for anger management classes and all that. So there's a volcanic side to Barry, which I think erupted at that very moment when he had just heard that line once too often. I don't think that, according to Barry anyway, that he sort of undermined the manager. I think that he felt, as captain of the club, he had some stuff to say at that moment in time, stuff that some of the people that were new to the club, he felt needed to hear. But that was effectively the end. Again, it comes back to the fact that Paul Le Guen, I don't think he wanted loud voices or strong characters even in his dressing room. I think he just wanted people to do what they're told to do. And if that's don't eat beans, don't eat ketchup, and put those packet of Monster Munch away, Chris, then that's the way it had to be.
Like to see a manager try to stop me eating super noodles.
They're not magicians, just managers.